was surprised, to say the least, when I saw this pop up. It came to us from the Sports Illustrated Oregon Ducks, Oregon Ducks on SI. I think Brie Amaranthus, doesn't she run that?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Pro Football Focus has Bryce Beter as the top graded linebacker in the country after 4 weeks of playing college football. He has been graded out through the first 3 games at 89.5 in their player impact on the game rankings. So this goes on to not just because Pro Football Focus, their rankings, by the way, they're very misleading because they don't know, they're not taking into account full scheme what guys are actually being asked to do in each certain instance. They just grade based on what they believe the assignment is, the impact that you're making on the game. Bettcher is number 1 in the country, though. And this is a guy that was seen as a depth and rotational player throughout his entire career at Oregon, being a walk-on guy who earned his right. And he has turned into one of the best impact players on this entire defense. Hell, on the entire football team for Oregon, offensive or defensively, with the amount of plays that he's made this season.
We were looking at these, I want to say last week, and I was like, hey, Bettcher's up here on this list because we were kind of going through the different rankings of defensive players in the old Pac-12 is kind of a joke. And Bettcher being up there was a shock, but not really, because of what what you've seen from him and kind of what we saw from him last year. Him being good isn't surprising. Him being this good is surprising.
I think a lot of it is stylistically the teams that they've seen in the first 3 games
kind
as well.
Of funnels things towards his style of play.
Yeah, because it is even like a run-heavy team, Big Ten style. That plays more into a guy like Justin Jacobs, who the Iowa transfer, and Jeffrey Bassa being dinged up has also added more snaps for Bryce Beter as well. But in that rotation, when you're playing that downhill style, it does favor those guys being in more than Beter, because he is good in coverage. He is an athlete. I mean, hell, he's a Gold Glove winner as an outfielder for the Oregon baseball team. But with and when you look at stylistically what Idaho, Boise State, and Oregon State, although Oregon State and Boise State are both run-first teams, stylistically, their offenses fit having Beter in more than they do having your run pluggers in. But he's been really good at both. I mean, hell, the first 2 plays of the Oregon State game kind of signify exactly why Beter is a good fit stylistically against Oregon State, in that he almost intercepted the very first pass of the game and then knocked down the second pass of the game. Right?
He's one of those. It's kind of funny. I was having this discussion with somebody the other day about tweeners in the NBA, and we actually started talking about tweeners in the NFL. What used to be kind of a cursed phrase is actually kind of a celebrated thing now, because of the diversity of the game, the stylistically how different certain teams can play.
Yeah.
And that's true in the NBA, the NFL, college football. Everybody says, everybody does the same stuff. Sure, but everybody does it with a different flavor. Some use garlic, some use a little pepper, some will use a little paprika. And the ability to have somebody who can kind of go through all of that, because Bettcher's not your, throwback in the middle or even on the edge linebacker, but he's also not somebody who is foreign in space.
Yeah.
So he's somebody who you saw last year come off the edge in blitzes and be disrupted in the backfield. He's somebody who like if you have him in a run gap, you're not afraid of him getting absolutely blown up and blown off the ball by a lineman on a pull or something along those lines. And if he's in space, you trust that he can make a play.
Which puts him in a really interesting position, because he's a tweener. I mean, this is a guy who was a 13th round draft pick by the Houston Astros this past summer in the Major League Baseball draft, and now he's coming in playing at Oregon and playing at such an incredibly high level that you sit there and you're like,
look at some NFL tape.
But the idea, though, is where does he play in the NFL? Because he's 6'2", 225 is what he's listed at. I would venture to guess he is probably 225, probably about like program height. He's probably like 6'1" ish.
We've seen so many of those safeties though that have gone to those jack and kind of.
It would have to be a specific
yes.
position in a specific system.
What was the Simmons, big time linebacker or safety coming out that moved down to linebacker? Clemson, yeah, Justin Simmons. Now he obviously failed for other reasons, but like you're seeing more of those guys. USC had Taylor Mays was another guy who was in that kind of same vein who kind of played that in between, and he fizzled out for
also
other reasons.
Like,
you're
saying a lot of guys that were drafted really high,
but
haven't really worked out.
Guys that for non-football reasons didn't work out.
I think with Boettcher, it's interesting because he is an inside linebacker. He's an interior linebacker. He's only at 225 pounds. You're going to have more lead in your pencil to do that. And he is not quick enough to play in the back end of a defense now, especially with what we're seeing safeties do in the NFL now in coverage. So it would have to be very specific to where he's at. I mean, or you put 20 pounds on him and you say, all right, be that downhill guy.
Play at 240, yeah.
But there could be a team that says, and look, we've seen this before. Guys make careers off of special teams. This is a guy who loves special teams. His thought process on special teams, which he's on almost all of them, is why wouldn't you? It's okay.
You get to play.
You're looking at a guy like Brendan Schooler in New England, who former Oregon player who went to Arizona. They're saying he's going to be the next Slater in New England, like a guy who's going to be there for 15 years, be a special teams just dynamo. Like maybe that is a path that he wants to go. But again, here's the tough spot. Brendan Schooler wasn't drafted in the 13th round of the Major League Baseball draft,
where you can get some guaranteed money that's in your pocket real quick.
It's crazy.
It's interesting because if he does, let's say he is a high level special teams guy, and he gets put on a team, drafted by a team that's like a 3-3-5 team, where he becomes a depth quasi tweener, or a guy that can get out there in situational football.
Third down, he'd be great to play linebacker on third down.
And that's what I kind of wonder, like, is that enough of a draw for him if he continues to have this kind of success this year?
Yeah. I played against a guy in college by the name of Caden Ellis. He's now the starting linebacker with the Falcons. His first couple years in the NFL, because he's kind of built the same way as Bryce. He was a skinnier guy in college, played middle backer, but then he also moved around, and he used his first 2 years to basically be on special teams while he bulked up so that he could bulk up in the right way.
Bulk season, baby.
That could be something that Bryce does as well. Also, I don't know this for a fact, but it's just something that I've created in my own dumb brain.
All right.
Bryce Beter is the fastest and best cover guy to ever wear a neck roll. No one has worn a neck roll at the middle linebacker position.
He wears the butterfly
and covered
collar.
better than Bryce Beter.
Yeah. That's an interesting move.
Vancouver Forward text line says he needs to get rid of the neck roll. I disagree.
Disagree wholeheartedly.
Strong disagree. If you can do both, baby.
Yeah, it's like until it negatively affects you, keep rocking it. Yeah, because it makes him look a lot bigger than 225.
Not only that, those butterfly collars are not like the cowboy collars that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Like that, I could get my arms slightly above my head. The cowboy collar was very, very prohibitive on movement. The butterfly one, not nearly as much.
He's really damn good right now, and he fits Lanning's system perfectly too. And
they can deploy him a million different ways.
Also, we've seen this with a lot of the guys at Georgia, where I said this when Lanning was hired, and we haven't talked really much about it this season. But Dan Lanning is 53 1/3 with his linebackers, guys that can cover from sideline to sideline. And Boettcher does a phenomenal job of that. And look, being graded the highest impact linebacker in the country, it's not too bad. That's a good way to go. That's a really good way to go.
I like it.
What if he went actual neck roll though? Like foam neck roll. Not get rid of the butterfly collar. You know where they used to attach it like above the jersey too? Yeah. Maybe would that be better?
Bo rocked one.
No shirt underneath, jersey rolled up to about belly buttons.
Yeah, the Bo Jackson.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Huh. Yeah, I think that cowboy collar or the old neck roll used to just flop all over the place. I was like, what is the point of that?
All right.
Him and I think Lyle Alzado was another Another one for there.
Boy, you have named a lot of steroid users in this segment.
Yeah.
Like you've just gone down this. Like,
Look,
every name
Latimer,
that's come out of your mouth has been a steroid guy.
Yeah. Guess what, man? Neck rolls, steroids. They go together.
Latimer never tested positive for steroids. I just want that out there. He was only assumed.
Look, I was a guy that wore.
I seen the video of him in the bathroom stall. Will,
show me the positive test, Dusty.
Here, I'll give you one.
All right, true.
I took steroids and I wore a neck roll. Like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and that was just in everyday life. Danny was just doing that, walking down the street wearing a neck roll for protection. You never knew.
Yeah, you never knew, man.
You never knew.
Terry Tate, man, he inspired a lot.
You never knew.